podcast. This is Killian. Today we have with us the leader of the Traria Star Kingdom, Jude Vatz.
Hello everyone, Killian, how's it going?
Going very well, thank you. Why don't you tell us how long you've been playing the game?
It's been a little over a decade now, 28 now, and I remember I started playing when I was 17.
What are some of the things that you've accomplished?
Well, now, currently, everyone knows I am the King of Traria. Been here for about 6 years now. Started out as, working there with Landian, who I worked Falleen Federation with. Before that, Falleen Federation, and pretty much that's where I started. Been working with them since until we declared our independence, and has been with Traria since then.
Declared independence from Falleen Federation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long, detailed story. Traria started out from the Bounty Hunters Guild and Sons and Daughters of Freedom, Jessica's old faction. Dalnor used to be the leader, and I guess he kind of just spent everything they had, bought himself nice, shiny things, pretty much put the government into bankruptcy, and decided to go out, find, benefactor to pay for everything. He went to Biz, who at the time, Falleen Federation was one of the best tax planet builders in the galaxy, making billions of credits a month. Traria became, a fiefdom of Falleen Federation. It was about 5 years ago that we actually declared independence. I was actually appointed Viceroy after Landian, who was appointed by Biz initially to supervise Traria. I was there for about a year and a half when we were part of Falleen Federation. Things just led one to another. We had a strong group. We built ourselves up. And we just, at first it was just a meaningless, we wanted to be our own government. We wanted more say in the Galactic Alliance. We wanted to stand on our own 2 feet. But Biz didn't see it that way. He was a little possessive over having 2 governments, which led to a big falling out with the Falleen Federation. Eventually it turned into, I guess you could call it a Cold War with us. And we ended up moving on to the Imperial Union later on because of Biz and the other leaders of the Galactic Alliance. And that's why we're here now. Which, honestly, in the long run, I'm much happier working with the leaders of the Imperial Union.
Can you tell us what some of the differences are?
The Galactic Alliance, it's more of a bunch of leaders who can't make decisions on their own. The Imperial Union, me, the Empire, and Black Sun, I can sit down with them and we can make decisions for our governments on our own. Working with the New Republic, there was, tons of red tape. Everything had to go through the Senate. Everyone had to go through committees. Rogue Squadron was always yelling at each other, and they had a different leader every month. Falleen Federation, Biz, he was one of the only ones there in a government where he could make the final decision, and the rest of his government had to follow him, because he was the king. And then we had a bunch of smaller governments that tried to assert themselves as larger governments and wanted to have the same voice and say as New Republic and everything when they had a handful of systems and had nothing to bring to the table when it came to the Galactic Alliance. In the Imperial Union, we all have different aspects of ourselves. Obviously, Galactic Empire is the main focal point, but we all bring something to the table that adds to it, and we all contribute to each other and work on things together. In the Galactic Alliance, getting people to work together. I was Secretary General for almost a year before I left for the Imperial Union, and I tried getting so many things done that just fell through. We tried having fleet exercises, everything. The New Republic would show up with one of their fleets because they had plenty to spare, but no one else would, and it was total anarchy over there compared to how it is in the Imperial Union.
And you said you've been in the Imperial Union for 5 years now?
We signed the Mutual Defense Pact with the Empire about 5 years ago, but at that time we were still trying to get into the Imperial Union because that was still Mandalore, Trade Federation, Apes, and Galactic Empire, and Tian. We were still, looking for membership, but at the same time was when the whole restructure happened, and those guys, Trade Fed, Apes, and everyone, they wanted to go neutral more than they did want to actually sign a military agreement with Galactic Empire. In the end, we ended up being part of the new restructured Imperial Union, and I think that was more like 4 years ago. It was shortly after we signed the actual Mutual Defense Pact with Galactic Empire.
When I was interviewing the Emperor, he brought up that you were a person who had lots of stories to tell.
I've been around for a little while enough, and I've been involved in much of the higher discussion in the Galactic Alliance. outside, within. There's so many. In the Galactic Alliance, we've had, when I was Secretary General there, we tried restructuring the treaty document we signed, which had some pretty funny input by many of the leaders. The whole aftermath of ENG selling to Galactic Empire was pretty hilarious, which, by the way, hopefully Ten listens to this because he was probably the only thing from the Galactic Alliance I've missed because he was in the GA Leaders channel. He was probably the funniest thing. His commentary was the best. Shortcomings I've seen with offers we've had with A&G trade. We had the option buy in before the Galactic Empire, and the New Republic red tape and unwillingness to give up their tech to Ten for his government basically was what put it in Galactic Empire's hands, which currently now I'm happy it happened because chapters are useful. I've had dealings with some of the most notorious criminals in the galaxy, and I am respected by some of the people too. I get along with Squall very well, and I've never had a problem with Idola. We've actually executed a few trade agreements on a couple times with land because we've operated in those areas, and it's more of a mutual respect thing than has to do with any of the political aspects in the game. Obviously, there is no combat. We can't fight piracy or anything, but I feel like even with Tennille and Squall, I've had a mutual respect with Idola over the years. Even when I was in the Galactic Alliance Secretary General, I actually fought to allow them to join the Galactic Alliance when they wanted to. I was obviously shot down by everyone, sadly.
Why do you say sadly?
Well, because I think Idola being part of the Galactic Alliance would have been a great accomplishment, and not only that, but it would have been a great asset to us. I feel like the New Republic, when they went from the Rebel Alliance to the New Republic, they kind of lost that whole Rebel feel. If you go back and look at the movies, the Rebel Alliance were a bunch of pirates and smugglers and mercenaries, and now they're trying to be this righteous organization full of democracy, which does not work in this game. Having Idola as part of the Galactic Alliance would have been a great victory and one less thing you have to worry about come combat. But they were pretty much against it. I don't know where their standing are now. Obviously, I'm not there, but having interactions with some of the few people that are still there from when I was there, I have a feeling they're still idealistic. No surprising, because Craft now, their whole Rift Alliance thing is beyond comprehension. I don't get what they're trying to do there or why they are allying themselves with some of the organizations they have. I think it hurts them more than it helps them, but hey.
Well, let's go back to something that you just said about how the New Republic is portrayed in the movies as opposed to this game. Do you think that if the New Republic, as it is now, were to function more like the one from the movie, it would have better success?
Oh, definitely so. I think if they would go back to non-committee driven organizations like they used to be, the old Rebel Alliance in this game used to get things done. That's where a lot of the good leaders you've seen over time, even Biz used to be an RA commander, those types of people that were in the Rebel Alliance back then were good and they got things done. They don't do that anymore. And even now, you don't hear much coming from the New Republic, which is disappointing. When I was there in the Galactic Alliance working with the New Republic under Zeph and Taka and all those good people there that aren't there anymore, the New Republic functions a little better. They get things done because the Chief of States, Zeph and Taka, they did things without Senate approval a few times. They felt it was within their capacity to do it. Now I don't see the Chief of State doing anything like they used to.
You told me that Traria isn't a canon government. How has that been working for you in regards to overall gameplay, recruitment, etc.?
Well, I'll just tell you, it's horrible for recruitment. It's not been helpful at all. Traria is actually a canon name. There's a House Traria, there's a house in the Bounty Hunters Guild, in some random comic at some point. It's got a page on Wikipedia. It's got maybe a 2-sentence description. And somehow Balnor thought that would be a good idea to name his government after that. Sadly, at the point where I got to be Viceroy and could have even suggested changing the name, it had already been established in the game that it just became pointless. And now it's grown on me. If you've been playing this game, you know what people are talking about. But sadly for recruitment, it's not, those new players that just come in and look through the list of factions and governments. They just look at it and are like, I've never heard of that before, and move on. And I mean, it happens for a few of the other ones, but we've been able to manage through mass messaging, new players, and wanted ads and things. We don't ever go out looking for people, but I mean, obviously we send out those messages and things on like some of the canon governments that have to do, but we get a steady flux and probably have the same percentage of people that stick around versus the larger governments. I mean, we have a pretty healthy pay system, I believe, which is what keeps a lot of people around. If you're doing those menial tasks like raw material movement or NPC pickup or building or things, it's nice to know you're getting a nice fat paycheck. Probably paying my guys too much because I just realized today one of them just got his first billion credits. I know when I started, I wasn't paid at all, and when I got my first 15K, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And we've had those things to overcome, and we've used in-game ways to acquire things that canon governments had. Recently, merged with ANZIT and now have our own data cards, which was a huge accomplishment for us because that was one of those things that was always like, we have the credits, we have the manpower, we obviously could have, if you think about it as an economic standpoint, we could develop our own technology, we have the abilities. So it's, sucked that we didn't have our own data cards, but now we do. I mean, they're not the best in the game, but they definitely benefit us. And, we make do, but it definitely would be, it would be so much easier if we were, had Galactic Empire name, but then again, I don't think I'd want to deal with all the headaches the Emperor does. I don't have as many crazy, Imperial new players trying to join and trying to automatically think they're Imperial officers, so that's probably an added benefit. It's been something to overcome, but we've done it, and, now we're one of the larger governments in the game, and probably the largest non-canon government in the game.
Sounds like a good place to stop for now. Let's have a commercial break.
At Corex, you're not just a client, you're family, and we treat you like it. With rates so high, you'll be glad you switched. Visit us at corex.us for a better kind of banking.
Why don't you tell us about your day-to-day operations?
I don't do too much day-to-day except for review the forums and just check things. We have a whole ministers, which is our high command, and I have a second in command, Premier Alpha. Most of the time, I just decide what the sweeping policy is. We have the Ministry of Economic Development and in charge of production, construction. I just tell them if I planet's built, these ships built, when new DCs came out, we were like, hey, see if we can get some N1s, just add them into the fleet. We got the dreads and the NFBs, hey, make sure you get some of those started up. Ministry of Military Operations, besides a few times where I tell them, hey, it's been 6 months since we searched for new systems, maybe you guys should go out and look for some new ones, and then move on to that. And then we have the Ministry of State, which is in charge of Training Academy, we call it the University of Traria. It's got its own website and got a bunch of tutorials and things for new players to learn, and even some old players to learn some things. It seems to work well once people go into the departments. They seem to be working out fine with that. So, and then they handle, raffles, role playing. We have our wiki they work on. Mostly out of character aspect of the game is what Ministry of State handles. My main focus is diplomacy. I deal with all our allies or neutral parties and things because, like I said, with the Galactic Alliance, Imperial Union, I make the final decision anyways. But obviously, if there's something comes up, I post it in our Hall Minister section and we discuss it because obviously I don't have the answers for everything. I'm not around 24/7. Sometimes some people hear things that I didn't hear. That's basically what we do. I just oversee it, and if people have questions, bring it up to me. I make sure it gets addressed, or if they have conflicting orders from other people, just like with Emperor, buck stops with me. That's just how it works. And it didn't used to be that way. I used to have to micromanage a lot, but after we joined the Imperial Union, I talked to Sealy and Emperor. They said you can't do that stuff anymore. You start delegating a lot of those things.
The Emperor said that at his busiest, he would devote about 10 hours a game. Have you ever had a day or days like that?
I've had a few times where I've had some days that have taken a toll on me. It's mostly when things have been going on in game that I've required to be on for more time than that. Nowadays, with the command staff I have, which is probably what it is, it's probably because I have a great command staff, but I don't. I mean, I'll jump on in the morning and check things. Lunch, I'll check DMs, and in the evening, I'll come on for a few hours and just check on some things. But unless something's going on in game that requires my attention, I'm usually not on for 10 hours at a time. There's been a few times. I mean, if there's a new system we discover, obviously, I'm a kind of a hands-on guy. I still do things in game, so I'll jump in an A-wing or a Hulk and head there and help secure it and things, or build war or something. So those times when things are going on, or there's some kind of propaganda posted on a GNS that I need to get ahead of, or something's happening, I can be on for extended periods of time. But day to day, I try to limit myself.
You had brought up when we were talking earlier that you had tried to arrest someone, and they had tried to arrest you at the same time. Can you tell us about the circumstances leading up to that?
Oh yeah, that was hopefully I say it right. Diabolus, probably one of the best bounty hunters in the game. I'll give credit for that. And I like him. I forget which system it was. It was either Bunta or Garn, because he was at both of them. Someone else had found the systems, but there was near Traria space, so obviously we sent everyone to go over there to try to get it, because there was a new galaxy shift happening, and not everyone knew how to secure planets. We jumped in there, and of course, I went in as well, because, hey, new planet. I was down there, and the planet was uncontrolled, and it was laying down some hotels, and saw the opposite ship, and he was over there, and I went over there, and we both landed in the same spot, both left our ships, like, oh crap, let's arrest each other. We both tried arresting each other, and it failed. Faction event comes up and everything, and that was when I then proceeded to get about 30 IRC pings, because everyone was yelling at me for getting out of my ship. This was after we had left the Falleen Federation. I was king, so they were a little upset that I was out putting myself in danger, but I've always felt like if I didn't do things, then how could I ask other people to do that? Because, I mean, there were other members on the planet building, so, it could have been any of them against AI. I mean, thankfully it was me, because he's got pretty robust stats that think my high level and my stat placement probably helped. But if it was any of my newer members, I'm pretty sure he would have captured them, and that would have turned the whole build war into something it wasn't. I mean, in the end, we ended up getting full control of the system.
It's good to see that your people are so loyal to you and have so much concern that you were not where you should have been.
Yeah, I mean, my guys are definitely loyal. I mean, there's a few people that have been retired that were ministers, deputy ministers, or just high-ranked people that they've retired from the game, but they're still in Traria. They still will jump on IRC from time to time, check in on everyone. They'll be like, hey, I have got some free time, you want me to go pick up something or thing. We definitely have a strong loyalty base. And even when people go inactive and they come back, they don't jump the other factions. They always come back and start back up to where they were. And it's been a privilege to work with some of these people. They've been with me for 5 years. And some of them were with me in Falleen Federation before that as well. Michael McLeod. I worked with him in Falleen Federation when he was there, and he came over with a bunch of the other FF members. Came over, and he's still here. He's my Minister of Economic Development. He's been loyal and one of the best builders I've got. And I have one guy who doesn't come on IRC, posts on the forums, and he's been with me since I started in Traria. He joined, and he's just, he's happy building, doing his thing, and he just loves being part of our government. It's good to see those things and know that you're doing something right.
How do you think that you acquired that sort of loyalty?
Honestly, I don't know. It could be due to multiple reasons. I know one of the big things, and I've gotten flack from a couple of vets lately who tried to join. If you join Traria, you start at the bottom. There is no, I've been playing this game for 5 years. I think I should be an admiral. We've lost a couple of vets to that. I don't start them off, as a cadet, obviously. Lieutenant junior grade or 4th rank from the bottom, right before commissioned officer, because I feel like as a commissioned officer, you take an oath of loyalty. And if you're just joining us, I don't feel like you could take an oath of loyalty. So we start you out at a lower rank. And that keeps the guys that have been with me for, 2, even like 1 year, to know that people from the outside aren't going to just come in and take their jobs or promotions or positions that they might be working towards. I think that benefits that. Like I said, I feel like I pay people what they're worth if you guys put the work in. I'm very involved with the member base. I used to know everyone by name, but at this point, there's a few new people that I haven't had a chance to meet yet, and I don't know them. But I pay attention to faction events. I look at forums and stuff, so I know what people are doing and what they're in. I personally run raffles on our forum. Sometimes I get told I put too expensive prizes on there. I think last run the total prize value was about 1.2 billion credits, but all those combined lets people know that I appreciate what they did. Obviously, I mean, it's a game, but a lot of the things that the people do it's work. They want to be rewarded for it just like you would in the real world. I think it's a combination of all of those.
This has been really very enlightening. Do you do anything else for your members?
I told them when the Galaxy shift first happened and the new systems came out, I told them the second multi-planet system we found would be for the members. The second multi-planet system we found ended up being Junta, which we ended up getting more control when we merged with Transit. In that system, it's all member stuff. We built shield grids and all these things, and we have a system built so they can purchase cities, build on them, build all the stations they want in the system. Obviously, we left some spaces off limits for stations to build columns to protect our citizens' investments, obviously, but that's one of the things they can do. And all the raw materials that were prospected are available for purchase. Obviously, we limit the amount you can purchase every month, so people aren't going crazy or buying up everything, so other people don't have a chance. Based off your rank, the higher rank you have, the more raw materials you have access to. The lower rank, the less raw materials you have access to. We give all our members free DCs to everything except for razors. It's the only thing we have we can restrict. That's one of the things we do internally.
Well, thank you very much, Jude, for coming on the show today. I appreciate you being here.
Anytime. Hopefully it'll happen again.
Hopefully. And thank you all for listening. See you next week on the Crepan podcast.